Hi y'all, I'm Amber and today I'm going to be reviewing Fever 1793 by LAURIE HALSE Anderson. Fever 1793 is the second book that I have read by her. I have also read Speak, and I fell for this story. I really enjoyed her writing style, and therefore when I saw this book, of course I had to pick it up. Fever 1793 is about the yellow fever that happened in 1793, and more specifically it is about Maddie Cook, who helps her mom run a coffee shop that her mom owns. And during the summer of 1793, she's the typical teenager who doesn't like doing her chores, but it all changes when the fever attacks the city and she ends up having to try to survive through a city that is basically gone to the dogs. I appreciated that LAURIE HALSE Anderson took a topic that I really don't think is talked a lot on, or at least I haven't read anything that has to do with the yellow fever. I've been through biographies like Thomas Jefferson and it's always sit in a byword, so it's really nice to be able to get a fuller picture of what it was like. I really liked Maddie. I think that, you know, that typical kid that we all seen ourselves, we all were there at some point in our lives, and it was just wonderful because I feel like Maddie was a very realistic character, and I think that overall that Anderson handled the topic very well. But I feel that she handled it too broadly and she didn't go in enough depth with the story, with the epidemic, even with Maddie in a way. And a lot of it I feel has to do with the fact that this is a book that's been written for people who are between children and the YA, because I thought at first this was a YA book, and then I realized when I was reading it that it read more like a children's book, and when I looked it up I realized that it was between both. They had categorized it as a both, so I understand that maybe she just didn't want to go into too much depth because it would get into the more sensitive parts where children of the younger ages may not be appropriate for it. But in doing so, I did feel like I was a bit too old to be reading this, and it was like right on the fence where I was kind of questioning if I should be reading this because I felt a bit too old. And I've never really felt that way until I read this book. As I said, it was very interesting to read about the epidemic, just seeing the devastation that it created in this city of Philadelphia and how it affected Maddie and her family was really scary, just because, you know, recently in California we're dealing with things like that. We've that whole thing that was spreading, causing fear in the past year, and now with the measles, it felt very much like an appropriate read in this time of things that are happening, that's spreading and causing fear, and it just reminds you of what could possibly happen if we don't get things under control. And it was just really interesting, but as I said, I felt it was very much on the surface of everything. She didn't really dig deep enough for me. It was a quick read and I felt that it was a little bit too quick for me. So although I really enjoyed it, I felt that it was timely. I just couldn't give it a higher rating than a 3-star. Tell me down below if you've read this yourself. What did you think of it? Do you agree or disagree with me? And thank you all so much for watching, and keep warm.